Hey, Katrina here from Scrappy Horses. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So happy you're here. I am working in Kat's Saddlebag Journal, and today I'm bringing out a focal point or a focal picture of my horse Jake that I actually created in Canva and finished up in PhotoScape. Now, this page is sort of about the lineage of Crazy Cat's horse, which of course is my horse Jake. So I did have to break from the time period because you'll see later on that I put his lineage in, and I used Jake's actual lineage, which obviously is not the early to mid 1900s. No, it's current. So a little break from the era. But other than that, I'm trying to keep it somewhat true and use a lot of junk in the process and hoarded items. If you have not seen Crazy Cat's Saddlebag Journal, I'm going to leave a tab in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. You can tap that and check it out. When you get there, if you go to the comment boxes, that information box before the comments, you can find a list of all of the videos I've done on this particular project. So all of the pages I've done up to this point will be listed there, and you can just follow them along and find more if you're interested. I really have decided I like junk journaling, so you'll probably see more of this from me. Here's a lace doily that I had hidden away in a drawer, and here's a piece of junk jewelry. Now I say junk jewelry because I purchased it in a bag of broken mismatched jewelry at an antique mart. A strip of denim and a tag from a pair of Levis. I keep all of my tags. And here is the focal image that we talked about earlier. This was from another page I did in another journal, and I just had it left over sitting around, and I thought, oh, this is good. I'll use this. It has some coffee beans stamped on it, and this is the page of the journal I plan to use. Stamp set from the notebook was Stamp of the Month with Close to My Heart a long time ago, obviously. I'm going to come in now, and I'm going to just go over this piece. Now you'll notice with my distressing tool here, my ink distressing here, you'll notice it is really, the pad on it is really, really old, but I think that's good because it gives me all that added texture. It also doesn't fit the block very well, and so I get that little squiggly part from the Velcro. Again, it works for me. Now I'm going to come in with that stamp that we talked about, and I'm going to go over this, leaning towards the left side. I'm going to rotate it now and go ahead and go over the right side to connect up the lines. So I'm going to go off camera so I get that exactly right. And now there it is. I'm going to come in with some cashmere and finish that off, and then rip it a little bit there just to, give it that worn old look. Like it's, been sitting in a saddlebag and traveling around by way of horseback, right? All right, so here we go. We're going to just use a little cashmere on there. Finish this up with the vintage photo ink. All right, what I'm going to do here is double dip. I'm going with the cashmere, then a little bit of gray behind it. That's going to give me a warmer gray than I would have gotten normally. Next, I'm going to rip off the little pieces and then finish it off with whatever ink is left on that inker. So next, let's finish up and just finish up inking the pieces so that everything has a finished edge to it and there's no glaring white in this book. Because let's face it, if you're writing out on the range, you're not going to have much white. All right, that doily, I didn't want to waste it. So I thought I'm going to come in, mark it with a pencil, and cut away what is not going to show. So I'm just coming in underneath, giving myself a good mark here. And I'm just going to cut on that mark with a pair of scissors. These aren't even my fabric scissors. They're just a pair that I use for scrapbooking. And it cut through just fine. So as I'm cutting along here, I'm going to lay the piece aside that I'm not going to use in my book. And we're going to move on to the piece of jewelry. All right, I've removed the earring back and I'm covering this up. So I'm thinking that that's just going to snap off, and I didn't want it to hit me in the eye, but it didn't snap off. And so I had to work a little harder to get that off. But finally it did come off, and then I was ready to start putting it in the book. So let's start with the piece of paper. That's my first layer. Then I'm going to come in with the Fabric-Tac and glue that lace doily down. I wanted to be sure though that I had the lace doily exactly where I wanted it. I wanted to stick off the top just because I think it's fun to have little things peeking out of the book. But I don't need it to peek off the side of the page because that envelope that you see on the far right wraps around that when the book is closed, so you can't see it anyway. Coming in, and at the top of this on the back side, I'm putting some double score. I start to put it here and remember, oh no, his lineage is going to go there. So I need to come down further, or up further actually, with my double-sided tape. Coming in with Fabric-Tac and covering that. I like to cover with Fabric-Tac just to give me that wiggle room. The double score tape is pretty sticky, and once you place it, you don't get much of an opportunity to move it. So the Fabric-Tac is very helpful. Here's another hint. If your Fabric-Tac is running low, you can always stick it in an old tape dispenser, the cardboard ring, upside down, and that'll help the glue flow down and you won't have to fight with it. I'm going to trim off a little bit of this denim strip and go ahead and glue that into place. I'm going to do that with some double score tape, peel off the liner, again add some Fabric-Tac just to make sure that it really stays in there forever and ever, and go ahead and place the denim in. When I placed the denim in, I wanted to be sure that I placed it at such a place that when the earring goes in over it, it covers the date. Now, Starbond multi-purpose glue. All right, with a little fancy tip. I really like this for metal pieces, and I've been using it, and it works very well on the metal pieces on top of paper or fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and just go over the very tip. I'm sorry about the photography here. It's not good at all. But I'm going over the very edge of it where it's actually going to make contact with the fabric and or paper. I'm going to go ahead and just lay it in, hold it there for just a few seconds. It takes contact and secures itself pretty quickly actually. So you can see that some of it's on paper, some of it's on fabric, and it does seem to hold on both for me. So I can highly recommend it. All right, here's my lineage paper, and I can go ahead and put a little Fabric-Tac on that. I'm going to again put it upside down in that little ring that you saw earlier. And I'm just going to stick this up underneath that photo, which is why I wanted the double score tape and Fabric-Tac up a little higher on the photo and not down to the very edge. This is a Levi's tag from years ago. I keep all of my tags from our Western wear, and I have for years. So I have a nice supply of that kind of thing. I used a lot of it in my son's scrapbook, and now I can use it in my junk journaling, what I've had left over. So I'm going to just kind of glue that right in over the top of this. And then next, I'm going to bring in the little important tag that we made at the beginning, that little tab that looked like it belonged on a file. So we'll bring that in next and glue that into place. All right, and then that is going to wrap up this page. Thanks so much for sticking with me through this project. Like I said, if you want to check out more pages, they are listed below, and I'll try to list them all below in this video too, so that you can find all the different pages and techniques I've used so far in this book. If you have any thoughts, any questions, Leave them below. I'd love to hear what you think, and I'll get back to you with any questions you might have. All right, that wraps it up for this page. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I'll catch up with you in the next video. Bye.